Namo Buddhaya. A quick question. Are you having sleepless nights because of these heavy loads of thoughts that are coming and looping inside your mind? Or are you someone who is imagining the worst case scenarios all the time whenever you're going to do something new? Or are you someone who is worrying about what other people will think of me? Well, if you are such a person, you might be overthinking. So let's find out a way where we can get out of our head and quit overthinking and get the works done. So what we can do for this? Well, the first and the foremost thing that you have to do is to realize that overthinking is not going to help you in the process, right? You can plan, you can analyze, but do not overdo it. If you are over-planning, if you are over-analyzing, it's not going to help you, right? It will distract you from the process. The first thing that you have to realize is that overthinking is not going to help you. The second thing, you can practice to be mindful. Now, this is a practice that you can do to stop overthinking, to be mindful, to practice the mindfulness. So how can we practice the mindfulness? So there are many ways that our great teacher Supreme Buddha taught us to be mindful. One of them is to be mindful about the breathing pattern, which we call anapanasati, right? When you become more mindful about this inhale and exhale, your mind instantly comes to the present moment, right? Now you're only thinking about inhale and exhale. You're being mindful about that. Now, instantly, you reduced these thousands and thousands and looping thoughts to two thoughts. What are those two thoughts? Inhale and exhale. So when you're thinking like that, and when you become mindful, normally, automatically, you will find the peacefulness and you will stop overthinking about these things, right? So whenever you catch yourself overthinking, what you have to do, take 3 deep breaths in and out, right? And just stay for a while by being mindful about your breathing pattern. Or you can be mindful about your body, right? You can ask from yourself that, how am I sitting now, right? What am I doing now? When you ask these things from yourself, you can answer these things like, I'm sitting now. You can recognize. When you do these things, you can be mindful. If you're mindful, your mind is in the present moment. And when your mind is in the present moment, your mind is in the peacefulness. There's a saying, and it goes like this. If you're sad, then your mind is in the past. If you're anxious, your mind will be in the future. But if you are peaceful and if you are still, your mind is in the present moment. So start living in the present moment, right? When you live in the present moment, when you live right here, right now, you can be more peaceful and you can stop these overthinking patterns, right? And also, there's another part of overthinking. What is that? The what if question, right? So many people ask from them that, what if this happened? What if this not happens, right? What if everything that I did was wrong? They are constantly thinking about these things like that, right? They are imagining these worst case scenarios. So, I must say something about that, right? So, if you're thinking this what if question again and again, you can ask from yourself, what if everything that I did was okay? You can be positive. What if everything that I've planned and I've done was really great? So that can happen. There is always many possibilities for your plans to go okay. So don't be negative. always think, I'm not going to be perfect, right? I cannot be perfect, but I can be the best version of myself. I can do my best. I must do my best. And be positive and go for it and take risks. Without taking risks, we cannot be successful in our lives. So practice these things, right? Be more mindful, right? Be more kind to yourself. And always think that if I overthink, if I constantly worry about myself, it will kill the peacefulness of my life. So I hope this video gave some light to your life. So be peaceful and be mindful and get out of your head and start doing the works that you haven't done. Namo Buddhaya, Theruvan Saranai. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. Now, in society, we have heard some people may say, being kind is a weakness. The people who become kind to others are weak. People may say like that. So today, from this Inner Guide Q&A program, we are going to find that how to be kind without being weak. We need to know that kindness itself is not a weakness. Kindness is a virtue. It is a great quality that you can have in your mind. But people consider the people who become kind to others, people who are very compassionate to others, are weak. But that is not the reality. So how can you be kind without being weak? So it reminds me a wonderful discourse in Supreme Buddha's teachings. In that discourse it says, if you can maintain your patience when you are powerful than the other person, if you can maintain your inner peace when someone complains you or someone hurts you, even though you are more powerful than that person, that is the greatest patience that you can have in your life. So, being patient, being silent, doesn't define that you are weak. So how to be kind and how to be patient without being weak? So you should not go to the arena of negativeness. It means you should not be patient out of fear. And you should not go to the arena of aggressiveness. That means you should not be aggressive to others. Instead, you can be assertive. You should not be negative and you should not be aggressive. Instead, you can be assertive. So what do you mean by assertiveness? Assertiveness means being kind and maintaining your inner peace without being aggressive, and still you can be confident. If you can be confident as well as if you can be kind to others, that is what you call the assertiveness. So, when you be kind to other person, that does not mean that you are weak. So what you have to do when you become kind, you have to be wise also. So the kindness mixed with wisdom is the best kindness. You can be kind. If those evil people or toxic people comes to you and start hurting you again and again, you have to take yourself back. You can stay away from those people. You should not fall into the same trap again and again. Instead, you can be away from them. And that is what you call the assertiveness. So, in your life, you should be kind as well as wise. When you become kind and as well as wise, you become assertive. That is what the real kindness is. So don't let anyone to control your inner peace. Don't let anyone to change your emotions and make you sad. Instead, you should be assertive. You should maintain your inner peace and be confident and be patient and be kind to them, but never ever be angry and hurt others. Namo Buddhaya, Thiruvang Saranai. Question. Do you know about the green-eyed monster? The green-eyed monster is nothing but the jealousy that arises within our hearts. So today, we're going to talk about how to deal with jealousy that arises within our minds. Jealousy is one of the most hardest experiences and emotions that we have to go through in our life. It is very hard to admit, and also it is very hard to remove from our hearts. So how can we deal with this jealousy? First of all, let's see why we feel jealousy. We often feel jealousy when we hear or when we see that someone is better than us. Someone is more capable than us. Someone is more smarter and genuine than us. Then we start to compare ourselves with that person, and we start to feel jealousy. So, what is the reason for this jealousness? When we explore the emotion of jealousy, we can find the selfishness or the self-centeredness is deeply rooted within this jealousness. That is why we feel jealousy all the time. So selfishness means that if someone is thinking only about that person, and if he is thinking that he is the greatest person of all, so chances are very high for that person to feel jealousy on people who are better than that person. So how can we deal with this? And how can we stop this jealousness? There are a few things that you can do, right? The first thing that you should do is to admit that you are jealous of that person. In most of the time, when we feel jealous, we refuse to admit that we are jealous of that person. We hide our emotions and we make excuses for our own evil emotions. So what you have to do is be humble and admit that I am jealous of that person. Okay? Then only you can identify the real emotion and real state of your mind. So first thing that you have to do is to admit that you are jealousy of that person. Second thing that you have to do is to realize that we all are different from one to another. For an example, there are 4 elements in this world. The water element, the earth element, air element, and the fire element. These are the 4 elements that prevails in this world. So if I ask from you, which one is the best element out of these 4? What is the answer of yours? You may say that we cannot compare these 4 elements because these elements are unique from one to another. They serve differently to this world, so we cannot compare. We cannot say which one is the better one. Same goes with our human lives. We are different from one to another. There are no same and identical people in this world. Even the identical twins are different from emotions and feelings. So that is why we should not compare ourselves with others, right? We all are different. And also you have to realize there is a person always in this world who is better than you, right? You can be the best in the world sometimes, but remember, there will be always a person who has the potential to beat you. Instead of competing with others in the society, let's try to compete with ourselves, right? Let's try to battle with ourselves and let's try to improve ourselves and bring the better version of ourselves daily, right? So that is what we have to do. Your competition should not be with the people who are around you, but your competition should be with the person who is inside yourself, right? Try to bring the better version of yourself every single day. When you're competing with yourself, there's no competition with others in the society, and you will never feel jealous on them, right? And also there's a special practice that our great teacher, Supreme Buddha, taught us to do whenever you feel jealousy. What is that? It is one of the most coolest practices in Buddhism. It is called mudita. The Pali word is called mudita. Mudita means the appreciative joyfulness, or in another word, the sympathetic joyfulness. When you practice mudita, you will have the ability to wish the well-being of the people around you. Whether he or she is better than you or lower than you, you can have the ability to wish the well-being and the development and the success of the people. Right? These are the thoughts of mudita. So how can we practice these thoughts of mudita? There are a few simple things that you can do. Right? Try this out every single day. Whenever you get up from the bed in the morning, right? Just don't rush into distractions quickly. Just sit on the bed, close your eyes, and wish the well-being and the development and the success of all the beings in this world equally, right? You can close your eyes and think, may all beings in this world be well and happy. May they be successful in their life. May they be developed with the successness. When you think and when you mean these emotions from your heart, you can develop the mudita within you. And when you're going to the society and when you see the people who are better than you, who are more capable than you, then automatically the thoughts of mudita will come to you and it will take control of your emotions, right? So never let that green-eyed monster or the jealousy to take control over your mind. Instead of that, let's practice the mudita and let's wish the well-being of the people, right? So be a big fan of watching people and being happy by seeing they are growing up in their life and by seeing they are becoming successful in their life. Because at the end of our life, we all have to leave this world and we take nothing from this world, right? So that is why we need to collect more good deeds and we need to practice more good emotions within our hearts, okay? So never be jealous at people because there's nothing good that we can gain by mere being jealous on other people, right? So practice mudita, appreciate and be happy by seeing the people growing up in their life. When you become happy by seeing the success of others, you can be happy about yourself also. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to yet another episode in Inner Guide Q&A program. Now it's been a long time that we haven't done a Q&A session. So today we are going to answer one of your questions. Someone has mentioned in the comments that it said that what to do when the life is becoming unfair and what to do when life is not going in my way. Well, we are going to talk about this today. First of all, remember the nature of our life. What is the nature of our life? Life is a little bit unfair. That is the real nature. But the problem is we expect that everything in our life to be perfect and to be fair. That is the problem. That is where the real problem is. Because Buddha said, if you have expectations, if you have more and more expectations inside yourself, chances are very high for you to feel so stressed. So remember that expectations stands for suffering. If you expect the life to be fair, you will suffer, right? So the nature of our life is, it is a little bit unfair. So how to face such situations, how to face unfair situations in our life? Well, I want you to do 3 things when you face tough situations in your life, right? These are very simple, but yet when you practice it, it is very hard to do that, but you can achieve it. Number 1, first of all, you need to realize what the situation is. That is the first thing that you have to do. If you're going through a hard time, right, you need to analyze about that and see what the problem is. Well, there are two types of situations in our life. What is that? First type of situation is the situations which are in our control. Experiences which can be changed by ourselves. Right? And the second type of situation is the situations which are out of our control. We cannot do many things about that situation, right? So these are the two types of situations that we go through in our life. So first of all, you need to analyze and you need to see what the problem is, whether it is in my control or out of my control. Right? When you realize about the situation, then you can do something about that situation. Okay? That is the first thing you have to do. Analyze the situation. Number 2, if it is a situation that is in your control, just do something to change that situation. So, what are the things that are in our control? What are the situations and experiences that we face in our life and which are in our control? Well, if you face a bad time, if you face a stressful situation because of your own faults, because of a mistake that is within yourself, then you can change it. Because we own our mistakes. We are the owners of our mistakes, and the mistakes can only be changed by ourselves. No one can change that. Someone can advise you, someone can show you the path, but no one can make it correct than you. So, what you have to do, you have to change the situation. If it is your mistake, correct it. If it is your fault, then do something about it to change that situation. So these are the things that are in our control. Remember. Here's the third one. When we face the situations that are out of our control, how to face that situation? Well, these are the situations we spend most of our time trying to change that, but we cannot do anything about that situation. So what are the situations which are out of our control? There are many things, right? Criticism is out of your control. People's opinions, they are out of our control. How people behave in front of you is totally out of your control. They are their choices, not your own choice. But we try to change these situations and we become so sad and depressed trying to change, and we find that we cannot change this situation. So if you cannot change the situation, what you have to do? You have to change your perspective about the situation, right? You can change the perspective about the situation, because the perspective, the perspective and the way you see that about that situation is totally in your control. Because your thoughts are in your control, right? So what you need to do is, if you cannot change the situation, change the perspective, change the way you see about that situation. Okay? So remember, when people act weird in front of you, when people try to make you angry, when people criticize you, right? When people give unwanted opinions about you, just think, these things are out of my control. I should not waste my time of my life to change these situations. It is much better to change my perspective about this situation. So how can you change the situation? How can you change the perspective? You can be kind to them, right? You can maintain a positive mindset inside you, right? It is much better to maintain a positive mindset daily, every day, right? Listen to some things like positive things, positive words every day. It is much better to do that, because the more you listen to the positive words, positive ideas, right? Then the more you become positive inside, right? Then you can change your perspective about the situation. That is what you can do. Always remember what Buddha said. It is a nice quote that Buddha said that describes about the life. Buddha said, Achinti tampi bhavati, chinti tampi vinasati. That is one of the greatest and one of the nicest quotes that Buddha have told about the life. In life, Buddha said, Achinti tampi bhavati. Most of the times, unexpected things happen. Isn't that true? We don't know what will happen in the next time. Right? It is a mystery. So in life, always unexpected things happen. And the things that we expected will going to be destroyed. Right? If we expect something, we don't get the same thing. That is the thing. So, remember that quote that was said by the Buddha. Achinti tampi bhavati, chinti tampi vinasati. Right? And there's another quote that was said by the Buddha. Sadharanang vihanyanti. If you expect the life to be fair, chances are more that for you to suffer in your life. So live with less expectations, right? If you are going through a tough situation, just analyze the situation, realize about the situation, and if you can change the situation, do something about it. If you cannot do something about the situation, change your perspective. That is what you can do when the life is not going in your way. So make your life a peaceful one with the teaching. Why do bad things happen to good people? Sometimes you've asked this question from yourself. I'm a good person. I help everyone. I don't hurt anyone. I can see myself as a good person. But still, why all these bad things? Why all these painful things, sufferings happen to my life? Why life always keep testing me always? Well, these questions we've asked most of the times in our life, right? Do you know how Buddha saw this? In the night of his enlightenment, the first thing that he realized was that life consists of suffering. Suffering is a part of everyone's life, right? So Buddha did not say suffering as a part of good people's life or a bad people's life. Buddha saw that suffering was universal. Right? But when we face adversities in life, when we face these realities like painful situations in our life, we think that the only person who is going through this suffering, the only person that is going through this difficulty is only me. That is how everyone feels. Not to lie, sometimes I feel that. But what Buddha teaches us to see it as is to see the suffering as a universal thing. I'll tell you a story. A young mother lost her baby, but she loved her baby so much that she refused to accept her baby's death. What she did? She took her baby and ran from one village to another, one city to another, finding a doctor to cure her baby. But no one could bring a dead person back to life. Finally, she met the Buddha. The Buddha said, "Okay, I will cure your baby. But we need one medicine to do this. Can you bring it? Go and bring a handful of mustard from a family that no one has ever died." So the mother was so much happy. She thought that she could find this easily. So she ran to the village and went to the first house that she found and asked, "Do you have a handful of mustard that I can get?" Then when the householder was about to give the handful of mustard, she said, "Has anyone died in your family?" Then they said, "Oh, my uncle died last year." Then she said, "I don't want your mustard." She went to the next house and she got the same answer. Someone had died. She went to the other one. She went from one house to another and she went through the whole village. The only word that she heard was, someone died. Death. Then she understood, okay, death is not only for me. Death was something that I always heard in this journey. Maybe my child is dead. So she made her heart strong enough to accept her baby's death. She went back to the monastery to meet the Buddha and thanked the Buddha for curing not the baby but her heart. What Buddha teaches us to see about life is that to see the suffering as universal. So next time when you go through a difficulty in your life, the next time when you go through a hardship, painful feeling in life, understand that you are not all alone. There are so many people who is going through in life, that's in the same situation, the suffering. Okay? Most of the time, we try to remove the suffering from life. We always wish that this suffering was not there in our life. Right? We go to sleep thinking that next day morning when we wake up, all these things will be a dream. All these problems will disappear. But the reality is, when there is suffering in life, there is suffering. So that the first thing that we need to do is that accept that there is suffering in life. So the whole point of realizing the first noble truth in Buddhism is to accept the suffering as it is, to see the suffering as it is. Only when you accept the suffering, we can cure it. We can find a remedy for it. First of all, you need to accept that there is pain and suffering in all of our lives, right? And then we can choose what to do with it. Most of the time, we spend a lot of time worrying about changing what we can't change, right? But it all depends on how you choose to react to these experiences in life. Most of the time, these painful feelings, sufferings that comes to our life are blessings in disguise, right? If we did not get difficult situations, if we did not get hardships to our life, right, challenges in our life, how can we develop a strong mindset, right? There's a saying that if you need to learn how to swim, what do you have to do? You have to jump to the pool. Somehow, you have to experience how drowning feels like. Only then you can realize that what should I do to learn how to swim, right? In the same way, there is no use of trying to avoid or wishing and praying that suffering was not there in life, right? There's no point of wishing and praying that please don't give me suffering. Always wish a mindset that you can face strongly to all these sufferings and painful situations in life. Whenever you get a strong mind to face any kind of challenge in your life, then you can be happy and in peace because you're ready for anything in your life, right? So always wish a strong mindset that you can face any challenge, any difficult situation in life. So remember that not only bad things happen to good people, good things also happen to good people. And also, sometimes you may think, why all those good things happen to bad people, right? It is not always the case. Good things happen to bad people and also bad thing happens to good people. That is the law of this world. So, we all need to develop the mindset to see the suffering as a common truth to everyone, not a personal thing. So I wish you all, may all of you be able to develop a strong mindset to face any challenge in all of your life. Namo Buddhaya.